Okay, good afternoon. First of all, thank you to Alan for inviting me to come along and speak to today. My subject is a very brief overview of the fuel standards and some of the legislation that applies. First of all, this slide talks about who UKPIK are. We're the United Kingdom Petroleum Industry Association. We're a trade and association covering the UK oil refining industry and its marketing activities. We're not a commercial organisation. We don't buy or sell fuels, and we don't set fuel standards either. Our role includes new legislation on conventional fuels, biofuels, air quality, climate change, safety and other environmental issues. On the right you'll see who our members are, and you can see they're colour coded. That's because they have different not all oil companies are the same. At the top we have BP, who are marketing and retail in the UK. They have no refining activity. Then the two red, Chevron and ConocoPhillips, have refining and some branded wholesale marketing. The blue members, ExxonMobil or Esso, Merco, Shell, Total, are integrated refining and marketing members. And then we have the two members highlighted in black, INEOS and Petroplus, who are refiners only, and you won't see their brands in any retail or marketing activities. Between our members, we source about 90% of all the petroleum products sold in the United Kingdom. And I use the word source rather than market, because a lot of our product is sold to resellers before it is sold on to the end consumer. So particularly in this area, in marine, if you're delivered by what we'd say a rigid truck, which is a 6-wheeler or 8-wheeler truck, that is most likely to have come from a reseller, not from a UKPIK member directly, although the fuel will be sourced most likely from a UKPIK member. So that is who we are as UKPIK. So let's look at some of the legislation. Today, we have the Renewable Transport Fuels Obligation. It's called the RTFO, and that is a UK legislation. It is not an EU legislation, it is UK specific legislation. It started in April 2008. It applies to road transport, petrol and road diesel, and the targets of biofuel increase to 5% by volume, averaged over the two grades, petrol and road diesel, by 2013. So the target gradually increases. Currently that target is 3.5% by volume. The purpose of talking about the RTFO is to let you know that biofuels have been in the UK market for some time now. They're not new, they've been present for a while. And it's also important to understand that 10 ppm fuel has been in the market for a long time in road diesel. In fact, 50 ppm is nearly 10 years old, and after that we've had 10 ppm has been used in road vehicles for that time. So what are the future? Well, the future is the RTFO will be replaced by a European directive, and the Europeans, being as they are, instead of having one directive, they have two. And they overlap in certain areas, and they're inconsistent in certain areas. I'm not going to talk to you about that today, but it is a problem for certainly the oil companies and the DFT to transpose this legislation. But in essence, they will start in 2011. The RED will require up to 10% energy, which is 12% by volume if it was all supplied by biofuel from renewable sources in 2020. We also have, under the Fuels Quality Directive, a requirement to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from fuels by 6% by 2020, and to do that we have to have biofuels, because that's the only way we can reduce the emissions. And there's also a wider range of fuels that are obligated under the RED and the Fuels Quality Directive, and that includes inland waterway vessels. They are mandated under these directives. Under the Fuels Quality Directive, fuel for non-mobile machinery, NRMM, must contain no more than 10 ppm sulphur from the 1st of January 2011. Now, 10 ppm fuels are not new to us. We already make all the road diesel we supply is 10 ppm and have done for several years. There was a question raised about lubricity earlier this morning. 10 ppm fuel has lubricity additive, and the new non-road mobile machinery will have the same standard as normal additive. So in practical terms, what does all this mean? Now, when talking about fuel standards, we do stress that you need to consult your fuel supplier about what fuel is appropriate for your use in your application. And you also need to read the BSI standard, that's the British standard, to check on the quality of the fuel that you'll be using. Now, the standard used for commercial fuels is BS 2869, and the current version, which is BS 2869 2006, that means it was introduced in 2006, allows 1000 ppm and 5% FAME in gas oils. So you need to understand that today you could have FAME in your gas oil today. Now, FAME is fatty acid methyl ester, and it comes from vegetable oil. Okay. There was a question also this morning about gasoline. Is gasoline affected under the legislation? Already today, gasoline contains up to 5% ethanol. That's mandated under the RTFO. So gasoline today has ethanol present in it, or up to 5%. So BS 2869, there are two categories of fuel. This is not a new standard. It's an existing standard. It's been there since 1957. It's had the same two categories of fuel. The Class A2 will be the non-road mobile machinery grade, which will contain 10 ppm and up to 7% FAME. I say that is a max. It's not an absolute, it's a maximum. Class D will be middle distillate grades for stationary applications. So that's for applications which are not mobile in any way. That will continue to take 1000 ppm sulphur and up to 7% FAME also. The 10 ppm applies to all non-road mobile machinery except for rail, which has a derogation of 1 year. So rail, the legislation will introduce in a year's time. Now, the new standard BS 286910 has been published, and it will be effective from the 15th of November this year, so less than a month away. And at that time, our members will be manufacturing non-road mobile machinery grade to that standard. We're introducing it in the 15th of November because it takes about 6 weeks to get through the fuel supply chain so that it will be available to everybody on the 1st of January 2012. Okay? There's also another grade, BS ISO 8217. That's a marine grade. That's a grade where the blending of FAME is not allowed, and it's free from other biomaterial. Now that is the grade which is normally available ex-refinery jetties in bulk for seagoing vessels. Okay, so those are the grades that are available under the British standard. There's nothing new, they're revised in their standard of sulphur and biofuel content. The standard will be available on the 15th, and it will be available on the 1st of January. So I think there was a question this morning about would 10 ppm fuel be available? The answer is yes, it will. So to guidance. Now, I understand this afternoon, looking at the agenda, you're going to have a whole afternoon on this, so I'm not going to talk about this at great length. But there's a lot of guidance notes already available for you, and is publicly available. The Department of Transport has a paper, and it's available on that address. Just go to that website and you'll find the guidance from there. The Energy Institute, which is the body which delivers good practice in the energy industry, also has guidance, and you'll find it at that location. And there's also guidance available in more detail, if that's of interest to you, from Concowie. For those who are not familiar with Concowie, Concowie carries out research and on environmental issues relating to the oil industry, and its membership includes most of the oil companies who operate in Europe. And they have issued guidance, and you can find it at that address. When you go there, you'll see a list of papers. The paper you need is number 909. And if you need any further information, you need to contact your fuel supplier, who will advise you which fuel you require and any guidance you might need to help with it. Now, as I said earlier, that some fuel suppliers don't manufacture the oil, they effectively are resellers. I would hope that their answer to you will be, I may not know now, but I'll find out, and I'll get back to you and give you the guidance that you require. Okay, thank you. Yeah.